As Max Craven's history of the Trust explains, the country was only just emerging from the effects of World War II in the 1970s. Derek had taken up the position of group leader of Derbyshire County Council's recently formed Conservation and Design team, when in 1973 the government decided it would take part in European Architectural Heritage Year in 1975. Derek was well placed to be the lead officer at the County Council. Happily at that time, a leading county councillor was Alan Bemrose, who took upon himself to promote it. Between them, they put together creation of the Derbyshire Historic Buildings Trust as a limited company and registered charity. A formidable team was put together, largely of key county council members and officers. The Duchess of Devonshire agreed to be vice chairman. Later, she took the role of president. Alan Bemrose was chairman. As group leader, Derek was well placed to have an overview of the state of historic buildings in the county and guided the Trust towards tackling some relatively small rescue projects to begin with. So we started with Toll Cottage in Kettleston Road in Derby and Stud Farm Cottage in Chesterfield. He was aware of the significance of field barns in the Peak District landscape, and his fertile brain came up with the idea of using them for overnight camping for walkers. He shared this idea with the Duchess, who then persuaded West Derbyshire's District Council's building control officers that they were no different to tents. From then on, they were known as stone tents, thereby escaping lots of regulations. Bob Hawkins recalls a lunch at Chatsworth to celebrate this, when his and Derek and Pauline's children were allowed to play in an adjacent room, a room containing millions of pounds worth of pressure artifacts and paintings. Terrifying prospect. Bob had been headhunted by Derek to join the County Council Conservation team because of his expertise in the field of industrial heritage, of which Derbyshire is so rich. At Golden Valley near Ripley, a relatively untouched terrace of 20 built workers' cottages lay empty and deteriorating. Their restoration in 1979 marked a step change in the scale of what could be done. In 1977, Derek had been contacted by the National Civic Trust, who were searching for a small town to be the subject of an experimental regeneration project funded by the Sainsbury Family Monument Trust. Derek roped me in, a newly arrived member of his team at the county, and between us we did a hard sell on promoting Wirksworth as the town to be chosen. The Duchess gave Simon Sainsbury and his fellow trustee bed and breakfast at Chatsworth, which probably helped a bit. And after a walk around Wirksworth, which was lying in a charming but ruinous way under a pall of coal fire smoke, the deal was done. The most ambitious building to be tackled was the 1631 Hopkinson's house, which had been listed as a roofless ruin in 1950. Derek put together a package of grants which enabled the ruin to be re-roofed and converted to a suite of rooms to accommodate business users. This was just one of the rescue schemes which Derek brokered in what was to become the Wirksworth project, and which eventually got awarded a gold medal for conservation by Europa Nostra, misnamed amusingly by the Matlock Mercury as the Cosa Nostra. 1979 saw the Trust's most ambitious project yet, led once more by Derek, Derby City Council were to demolish the 50 rail workers' cottages opposite the railway station for road widening. The Trust responded to the Derby Civic Society's campaign to prevent this by negotiating their purchase from the council. A project on this scale called for real bravery, something Derek has in bucketfuls. Derek pulled it off. At the northern end of the railway cottages lay the Brunswick Inn, a pub which had closed its doors 5 years earlier and lay in a parlous condition. On Christmas Eve 1981, the police phoned Derek to say the front of the pub was falling into the road. The same day, Derek managed to get a trusted builder to shore it up with scaffolding. In 1983, DHBT member Keith Allman drew the Trust's attention to the dire condition of Buxton's thermal baths, which had lain derelict since the late 1970s. This was a major project on which the Trust nearly floundered. In addition to converting bathers' cubicles to an arcade of shops, Derek persuaded stained glass artist Brian Clark, who was knighted last year, happily before he died, to produce designs for a new barrel vault glass roof, introduced to give the arcade good lighting. This project was another which called for a good deal of bravery and keeping a cool head. There were many other projects which Derek, as the Trust technical advisor, guided through viability studies and for which he helped secure grant funding. Sometime after this, the Trust chairman, Alan Bemrose, who was a marvellously cavalier guy, who led us into terribly dangerous waters, but we somehow managed to survive. He was headhunted by people at a national level to lead a brand new countrywide building preservation trust. And as a result, the captain of the Derbyshire Historic Buildings Trust ship had his energies diverted. And also by the 1990s, grant systems were beginning to change, as were property prices. And these circumstances led to a period of relative inactivity. I'm now going to hand over to Alan, who's going to tell the next bit of this saga.